want to take a break from doing Jane Eyre videos, so I'm doing this one. I want to do something fun and random and ridiculous, so I thought, hey, that's always an interesting topic. What fictional crushes did you have when you were little? Rules. I need some rules, because otherwise it'll just go on and on forever, because after the age of, 12 or 13, I started to have a crush on pretty much every main male character in a book I read, unless they were absolutely awful. I'm gonna make the age range 7 to 12, or just up to age 12. Girlhood fictional crushes up to age 12. And in no particular order either. It's not gonna be in a list of number 1 is my favorite, because this was a while ago and I don't dream about any of these guys at night. Not anymore. I hope not. 1. Peter Dobbs, Judy Bolton's friend, boyfriend, husband in the Judy Bolton mysteries. I already talked about him in one of my earliest videos, so I don't really feel I need to elaborate a whole lot, except that I liked him because he was mature and he always had good advice, but he was also kind of a teaser, and he was a nice, decent boy. He could be fun and silly in a group, but on his own, he was mature and sensible and understanding and sympathetic and just all kinds of things that you want your boyfriend to be. So that should probably tell you how old-fashioned I am, that the first person on this list of my girlhood fictional crushes is someone who was in books written in the 1930s, and who probably most people my age have never heard of. Continuing along in that vein, 2. Teddy Kent, or Frederick Kent, as I sometimes refer to him. Teddy Kent was Emily Birdstar's best friend in the L.M. Montgomery series, Emily of New Moon, Emily Climbs, and Emily's Quest. Yeah, like everybody else, I like Gilbert Blythe. He's great. But for some reason, I really had a thing for Teddy Kent. I read those books over and over again, especially the parts that were my favorite. Especially Emily Climbs, which was more focused on her teenage years and them developing a little romance between each other as kids, and then college, and oh my goodness, what's happening to us? Things are changing. There was a lot of turn-of-the-century Edwardian romantic stuff going on, and I just gobbled it all up. And it's so embarrassing to think about now. I used to go mooning around the playground in 4th or 5th grade, talking about this kid that I had a crush on, and who was just so romantic and everything, and nobody knew who I was talking about, and oh man, it was so cheesy. And the thing is that when I think about it now, and I think about his character, I don't think that I would even like him. I don't think that we would have been friends in real life, or that I would have a crush on him. What I'm attracted to has kind of changed over time. I guess that's good. 3. Almanzo Wilder. Is it Almanzo or Almanzo? I don't even know. I didn't watch the show, and no one ever told me how it was said. He's Laura Ingalls Wilder's husband, featured in Farmer Boy, and then in These Happy Golden Years. These Happy Golden Years was my favorite of the Little House on the Prairie books. I reread it many times. Really, if I think about it, there aren't a whole lot of romantic scenes in there, and he's not even in it a whole lot. But there was just something about the idea of this guy who drives miles to get you in a blizzard so you can come home and be with your family again for a couple of days. Even though he doesn't even talk during the ride home or the ride back, it was the appeal of the knight in shining armor and the sacrifice of it all, plus the unexpectedness of this kind of just regular guy who does all these things, and he's kind of a stranger, but he suddenly isn't a stranger. And to be honest, I can't really describe his character. It was just the situation. Number 4, Alexander Mackenzie Campbell, or Mac. Mac is featured on the cover of this book right here, in Louisa May Alcott's my goodness. In Louisa May Alcott's books, Eight Cousins and Rose and Bloom. For the longest time in the two books, you don't realize that he's actually the hero, the one that she'll end up with. You think it's gonna be Charlie, who's handsome and awesome at everything and so charming. But it turns out Charlie's actually a mess. And about halfway through Rose and Bloom, Mac suddenly just becomes really interesting. Analyzing it in retrospect, I realized that Mac actually kind of had a lot in common with Teddy Kent in that they were both kind of poetic type guys who would just kind of lay in the grass on a hillside and stare up at the trees and recite poetry for hours. I've never tried it, so I don't know if I'd like it or not, but, I don't think it's exactly my idea of a great way to spend a day. I really enjoyed the surprise, though, that the nerdy, bookish one ends up being the one who gets the pretty girl. Ignore the fact that they're cousins, because that's gross. And I'll be frank, there were scenes in the book that they would make me get all goofy and giggly. And oh man, it was really nerdy now that I think about it. Number 5, Justin. There are 2 fictional Justins that I have had a crush on. One was after the age of 12, so we won't talk about him. But the other one started in 4th grade. Justin is a soldier and a leader, very intelligent, but also very kind, generous, funny, charming. Justin is also a rat. One of the best rats, but a rat of NiMH. I read Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of NiMH when I was 9 or 10. Justin shows up in the book at like just the right time when Mrs. Frisby really needs someone to help her out. And Justin comes in, and he saves the day, and he's, like, really just so nice and charming, and, like, you expected everybody to be scary and intimidating and to eat your face, and really, like, he's just a nice guy. And if he was a person, it wouldn't be weird at all if he was a person. And I am not the only girl, by the way, who had a crush on Justin the Rat. I met somebody who also had a crush on Justin, and well, maybe she didn't describe it as a crush so much as like a, yes, I liked him a lot. And then one of the little girl rats has a crush on him, and it's just like, well, yeah, of course, I totally understand why. I mean, look, he's so dashing. But like, dashing in a responsible, mature way. My feelings about Teddy Kent and Mac and even Almanza Wilder, they just kind of ebbed away, and I didn't really care about them anymore. By like age 15. But Justin was like a transition because Justin isn't shown as a boy rat, he's a man rat. Oh, this is getting worse and worse. And instead of like being just a boy or doing the transition, he is a mature adult, and I was maturing into adulthood, and it's a good segue because I'm going to talk about the detectives that I liked. After I was reading these books, then I switched to reading detective books, and I had crushes on the detectives, and didn't I just clean that up so nicely? Now you, internet, know a lot more about me than you probably should. More than some of my own family knows.